Good afternoon, everyone. Khan here, Boxing Trash Talk. Look, today I want to talk about the mad respect that Amir Khan is showing Terence Crawford. Now, I believe it's significant, and that's why I'm making this video. I think it has a lot of meanings behind it. Now, I saw the other day an interview with Amir Khan where he was speaking about, his diet, his training, his hard elite training that Bomax camp does. And he was even talking about, Crawford coming by his camp one day, and Amir Khan was pretty much at the end of his training. And Crawford walking in and say, "What are you doing?" And Amir Khan saying, "I'm done for the day." And Crawford says, "No, man, let's do some more." And actually told him what he has to do. And Amir Khan said he went ahead and did it. He even spoke about, having 4 rounds of sparring with Terence Crawford, and that the whole camp just stopped training and just watched them spar. And he seems like he enjoyed that sparring. Now, this all strikes me really positively, okay? And I'll explain this to you. You see, Amir Khan is not only showing Terence Crawford respect. The way he talks about Terence Crawford coming around his camp, it is more as if he's honored. He's honored in the company of Terence Crawford. And it seems that Terence Crawford motivates him to do better. For some reason, Amir Khan feels the obligation to push himself when Terence Crawford is around. Now, I think, and Amir Khan shows his appreciation to Terence Crawford. You understand? I also hear that Crawford will show up in England a week before the fight. Now, that's great support for Amir Khan because, from what, it's truly, I believe it is really truly that Amir Khan is honored that Terence Crawford is there. Now, what makes this so significant? We'll get to that, but let's talk about this. You see, when you talk about 2 fighters that's still active in the same weight class, they fought 2 years ago, and now they're training together. Could you imagine when Amir Khan is showing his respect to Terence Crawford, how Terence Crawford understands how a good fighter as Amir Khan respects him and understands, give him his due respect. Now let's talk about that fight, Amir Khan, Terence Crawford. I believe in that fight, Amir Khan did the right thing. You might use the word that he quit. I would use a different word. I think Amir Khan tried, realized where he was. He knew he didn't belong in the ring, and he actually walked away from that fight when he started to understand a little bit. Now, that could have been Crawford setting him up or whatever, but he knew that wasn't his fight. Now remember, Amir Khan has done very good things in his career. There's no denying that he did very well. He did his part. He really showed up. Now, and he did push himself. He pushed himself against Canelo, and he pushed himself up against Terence Crawford. Those were 2 fighters that was out of his class, but he still did it. So we can never say that Amir Khan didn't push himself, okay? But to come back and to show the respect, because I'm sure Amir Khan realized that Terence Crawford is really special. Now, it's not only Amir Khan that did this. You remember Sean Porter, after the fight, what he says? He says, Terence Crawford is such a good fighter, is that you can train for him, and you can do all the studying and all the training, but when you get into that ring, you realize that person in front of you is very, very special. In fact, Sean Porter put it this way, let me see, that he's special, he's in a different level, and is always a step ahead. Now, that don't happen often. The fighters, really tell what they think of the other fighter, especially after a fight. But we know that Sean Porter, retired, so it was good timing for him. Now, Crawford is a very good and a very special fighter. I remember seeing him a long time ago, and normally when I look a fight, I'm very loud and I'm very verbal because I love boxing. But on that night, I was very quiet because I was actually studying him and looking at him, and was wondering how come we didn't hear about him? How come we don't know this guy? I knew since then, and I knew he was very special. It's just absolutely, there's no argument about it. Even then, that guy is a great fighter, and he keeps getting better. We'll have to talk about Terence Crawford, another day. It shows class. I think it shows class from Sean Porter and Amir Khan to accept and acknowledge that Terence Crawford is is a special fighter. Now it is very good. And one of the best things Amir Khan can do for new motivation was joining that Bomax camp and being there with Terence Crawford. Now he's trying to keep up with these boys because they train harder, from what he is saying, and he doesn't want to show that he's gonna lapse or can't keep up. So he's pushing himself, and at the same time Terence Crawford walks in. You want to push yourself more because that guy trains that hard, and you don't want to say that you can't do it. So, and the other thing is, when Amir Khan was talking about, the sparring he had with Terence Crawford, those 4 rounds, he mentioned that Crawford was telling him, was naming his flaws to him, what he needs to work on and what he needs to better. And Amir Khan even mentioned, yes, he's taken it in and he's been working on it, and it feels better. And one specific thing that Terence Crawford was telling him, was, leaning over or not sitting on his punches, giving himself actually better balance on his punching. Now, that can be very significant in that fight with Kell Brook, if Amir Khan is able to implement such things. Now, Amir Khan should take advantage of this all, and I think he will. Now, I'm hoping that all of this effort on Terence Crawford, I want to talk about Bomax camp. Amir Khan did mention and did choose his words carefully when he did mention training with Freddie Roach and Virgil Hill. He did say that he believes that if he had trained earlier with Bomac, that things might have or would have or could have been different. Okay, but he also says that training the way those guys train probably would have hurt his body, would hurt anyone in a short period of time. But I hope all of this, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, the respect. So he knows he can learn. He's proud to be part of that whole camp, and I think it's going to impact him positively. What worries me is that Amir Khan is considering retiring. I knew, without him saying that he's going to retire, that if he ever accepts the Kell Brook fight, we call it the cash-out fight. I honestly knew then that was the only time he was going to give Kell Brook that fight, because he knew that was going to be a money fight either way. In fact, you see how of a money fight it was. It sold out in minutes. And now you got Danny Garcia calling out the winner. You even got Floyd Mayweather, ringing some bells. And naturally you got, I forgot, Nigel Benn's son, what's his name? I forgot the name. But anyway, they're showing interest because of the marketing, because these guys are, it's a home crowd fight, and they see the reaction of the people and how much people really wants that fight. But I also know that Amir Khan was only going to, my personal opinion, that Amir Khan was only going to accept that fight when he was going to get out. Now, what I'm worried about, going back to what I'm really worried about this fight, is Amir Khan will learn so much, and it will probably, it will really help him. Now, if Amir Khan gets into the fight and he has to get in the gutters and the fight gets tough, I'm wondering which Amir Khan is going to take over. Is it going to be the Amir Khan that says, you know what, I'm retiring, I don't need to dig this hard, maybe I can just stay away from this guy and don't give him the glory of knocking me out? Or is it going to even be the Amir Khan that says, no, I got what it takes, and Amir Khan is actually a good fighter when things get tough. Now, that is the only worry I have about this fight. If Amir Khan is smart, and the fight don't need to get tough. If you have the right mind stepping into that fight, I don't believe the fight can get tough. So my take on this, and why it's significant for Terence Crawford, he has all the motivation. He has all the motivation from the camp. He wants to impress Crawford. Crawford is helping him. And I find that very, very significant, because he has, yes, you got Kell Brook and this hate and this animosity and everything that's out there. But when your camp automatically gets better, because there's a different motivation there, you don't want to let nobody down. It can be something very good for Amir Khan if he takes it into the ring, and if it gets tough, that he knows he has what it takes. So we'll find out, though. Let's wait and see what happens there. Now, I am going to be having another video, and I'll be talking about the keys of victory for Amir Khan and the keys of victory for Kell Brook. Now, please do me a favor. Please subscribe to my channel. I hope you liked what I shared with you today. I'm a great, I love boxing. Always loved it. And the commentary I make here, it is my own opinion. I have a lot of respect for everyone who steps into that ring. And even though my channel is called Boxing Trash Talk, and I do trash talk sometimes, I really respect everyone. Now, thank you all for watching. Look for my other video for keys to victory for Amir Khan and keys to victory for Kell Brook. All right. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe. Okay. Thank you.